Hello, I'm Chuck Wooden. I'm also joined by my co-host, Monique Melanson-Hunter, and you're watching the Veterans Corner.
Thank you, Chuck. If you haven't seen the Veterans Corner before, it's a show dedicated to our veterans, their families, and those in the community that support our veterans.
Thanks, Monique. We have a special guest. Actually, you've been here before.
I have.
And, you know, after that show, you actually went on to get your own show produced here.
That's correct. So it's strange to be on this side of the script.
Yeah, and well, the next time you're going on vacation again.
That's right.
You're going to be here co-hosting on the 23rd.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
For a double header. Yeah, you're excited about that, right?
Can't wait, Chuck.
Well, it's great to have you back, Justine. We got Justine Ginsburg and Robert Havens. They're both from Resilience Grows Here. And you've got, I know what the RN is, registered nurse. What's the BSN?
Bachelor of Science Nursing.
Okay, there you go. And then you're the director. You're also the founder, aren't you, from Resilience?
That's correct.
Yeah. And Bob, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's great to see you again. I think we met not too long ago at a function.
At a training.
At one of these trainings we're going to talk about. And you're part of the board at RGH, and you're also a trainer.
Yes.
So let's jump into this because we've got a lot to talk about.
How unlike us.
Yeah, exactly. It's whenever me and Justine say we're going to talk for about 5 minutes, it's usually 5 hours. So we got to get all this in within 25 minutes, plus an 11-minute, very touching video clip. We'll talk about that too. Okay. So military background.
Okay.
You want to touch on it real fast?
Sure.
I know you're a Navy veteran.
Navy vet, Vietnam combat veteran. I was part of a group called VO67, which was a clandestine group formed to lay electronic sensors along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And it was so secret that we couldn't talk about it for 30 years after we came home. And we also helped the Marines at Khe Sanh, the fire base that was under siege. Was going to be overrun. They couldn't locate the enemy. They called us off our mission in Thailand and Laos, and we went in and laid sensors around Khe Sanh, and we located 20,000 North Vietnamese troops who were then sent away, and Khe Sanh went on. It was never taken over.
Good. It's on behalf of the Veterans Corner, our viewers, we want to thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Justine, thank you very much for your service. You're just as equally as important of everything you do to support the veterans.
That's right. Oh, it's an honor and a privilege. I haven't actually had any military service experience, but it is an honor and a privilege to work with the men and women who have.
Yeah. And it's an honor from us, the veterans, to have you do what you do. With that being said, let's just jump right into this.
All right.
You want to hit the first
I do.
I
do. Thank you.
It's
Thanks
just
for
us girls
throwing
now,
that.
Monique.
I'll
it will,
catch that now.
it will give me an opportunity to not add to the 5 hours we usually talk.
There you go.
Oh, so he's giving it to me. Okay. So, Justine, can you tell our viewers a little bit about RGH?
Absolutely. So Resilience Grows Here is a veterans mental health initiative that was founded nearly 5 years ago by the Farmington Valley Health District with an incredibly generous grant from the Movember Foundation. It's allowed us to really take a deep dive into veterans' issues and to look at the effects that service has when our vets return to our communities, and both the need for ongoing mental health services and also supports for family and communities as well. So we're very excited to announce that Resilience Grows Here has just become its own 501c3. This is the last year of funding through the Movember Foundation under the Farmington Valley Health District, and as you introduced, Bob is one of our new board of directors. So it's a very exciting opportunity for Resilience Grows Here to kind of grow up.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, when was the last time you were here? It had to be
probably two years ago.
A lot of
Lots
you've
changed.
grown. You've grown
Yes.
tremendously since then. Peer mentoring. Can you tell us why? We've talked about this before, but can you tell the viewers why peer mentoring is so important?
Sure. I think one of the things about working with our veterans that we discovered very early on is nobody understands a veteran like a veteran. And it doesn't matter how much training we have as professionals, nobody has that connection, makes that connection, unlike another peer. And what we know is no service can provide the amount of staff that is required to be able to reach all of our veterans in all of the locations where they live, work and play. But there are established veteran organisations that do have a group of followers that meet regularly. So we can actually expand our footprint by training those organisations and training those peers. So that's why peer mentor training is so incredibly important, because if you're going to take on that role, and I think Bob's going to talk about that a little bit later, it's really important that you are educated about how to be someone's peer. It's very different to being someone's friend.
Yes, and it's not just with veterans and military. It's first responders, anyone for that matter that experienced that event or series of events that no one else has. Only they can relate to that. And most of the time, they're only going to talk to those that have related to it.
Totally.
Let's break. I think now's a great time to break into this video. It's 11 minutes. It was put on by, actually, you want to?
The Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. So for the viewers at home, you're about to see an amazing video that was done with the funding from the Movember Foundation and the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. They actually flew a crew from Australia, and we spent 2 full days with the Valhalla Motorcycle Group, and it's due to their cooperation that we've been able to put together this incredible video that just talks about a small piece of what we do at Resilience Grows here.
Well, let's go to the video.
Wars aren't like TV. That's the hardest thing I think it is for the mind to comprehend. And you really see that what you're killing isn't the bad guy, he's another person. So I got on the plane, I left Iraq, I left the war zones, I left Fallujah City, the invasion. All the burnt bodies, people with missing arms, legs, half their faces, I'm gonna leave it there. It doesn't stay there, it doesn't not get on the plane with you. You're trying to put it into a box, a black box with chains, and you're trying to keep those chains locked instead of going to seek help. Something triggers it, where that memory comes back. You can't unsee what you saw, but it's okay to be screwed up. It's okay, we don't have to hide it anymore.
PTSD is not a disorder. PTS is the most normal response to the most abnormal circumstances. And
There's an enormous stigma with mental health in this country. In America, when you look at the risk factors for suicide for our veterans, a lot of that stems from not being able to access mental health services early enough when they need it.
I will still say in the military, and I've been retired for 10 years, you wouldn't dare say you had a mental issue. I can't go to combat, I can't take care of my friends, I can't cover their asses. Two, if you came out, you're pretty much done in the military.
When you're in service, there are still obstacles to self-disclosure. For certain career fields, a pilot, they cannot have a mental health condition. When we're serving, the public wants us to be healthy. And so people still hide their mental health.
My husband got out of the Marine Corps and lost that identity and wasn't sure where to turn. And it was easy for him to fake it while he was still within the service. But out of the confines of that camaraderie and out of the confines of that predictability, that's when he started having some difficulty.
You know, the system has failed them many times, so they build up a facade. They know just the right answers to give, so people will stop asking the additional questions.
When someone reaches that point, that's a sad state, you know, for those individuals.
The population that we serve at the Farmington Valley Health District is very high in veterans, and it takes, on average, 10 years for a person to get help for an underlying mental health condition. When an opportunity for a grant from the Movember Foundation presented itself for us to really create an inventive and outside the square kind of program to work with our veterans and mental health and men's mental health, I jumped at the chance. So Resilience Grows Here was born. One of the most humbling lessons that I learned as a professional is that I don't have all the answers. I can provide the trainings and I can provide the backup and the support, but a lot of the work gets done in communities like the Valhalla Motorcycle Group.
The ones that come here, these young guys, they go to the wars and they hear through the grapevine about the barn because they're looking for another source. The first thing I will say is like, hey, we know we're all screwed up, right? So they get in that relaxed mode, and then when they start seeing the walls on the faces, we start talking about them individually. That's when they'll break.
And the beauty of RGH and taking that course was it taught us don't be afraid to ask those tough questions.
And when somebody's in trouble, it's all about asking questions. You can't baby them. You can't coddle them. They're in trouble, you need to understand that you have to bring them out of that trouble. And the only way to do that is by being honest with them and moving forward from there.
Because eventually when you bring down the wall, that's when you can open up to the help.
When they come in here, we're not saying lay on the couch and tell me how you feel. I've never asked anybody to tell me how you feel. Before they even got here, I already knew how he felt. I already knew what he'd seen. I already know where his mind is. I think that's the difference here. They go to a psychiatrist's office, and I'm not taking anything away from them because they're very valuable. We try to get them to that level next.
So when I met Ben 2 years ago and he reached out to us about some suicide prevention training and peer support training, it suddenly became the natural alliance.
So we build that trust in the people that we trust to take care of them, and we trust the RGH people. We screen who we work with, and we found RGH close by, willing to bend over backwards, because we're talking about somebody's life. We're not talking about another paycheck for a job. It's somebody's life.
Ben brought our son Larry's things home from Iraq, and so that's how we met Ben the first time. And he's come to support our family since Larry was killed.
It's from his heart. He knows exactly what these men and women have been through. He's seen it. He's seen it on the battlefield, and he's seen it when he's had to knock on the doors to let families know that their loved one won't be coming home. And he has to be ready to jump out of bed and run. And he's so respected and so loved. He does it well.
Lisa is the embodiment of what Resilience Grows Here is. Lisa's understanding and ability to talk the language of the families and talk the language of the veterans. This is a woman who has used the greatest personal loss to connect with the community.
It means the world to me to help our veterans. That's just my heart in taking care of them on behalf of my 2 sons who served, and especially my oldest son, Larry, who gave his life in Iraq.
So when you look at small-town America, there's something incredibly unique about how they live and work together.
everybody knows everybody. There are families that have lived in these communities for 300 and 400 years. It's got an incredible feel of connectedness.
So for me, I look at my community as circles within circles. So I belong to the 103rd. I'm an airman. Community is however you define it. Everybody in here kind of take on as my personal responsibility. Because as long as you feel like you belong somewhere, that's the kind of roots that keep you from hurting yourself even when bad things happen.
There is a relief in understanding that this is not just them. This is not just the dirty little secret in their own family, that this is something that is a lot more common than we think that it is. I think the more people like myself and like RGH and the community that they have telling that story, I think we'll see more people raising their hand and saying, me too.
Just to know that they have someone that they can call and they can count on, so that at the end of the day, when they lay their heads down on their pillow, you know, they have some hope. And I think that that is what Resilience Grows here is giving them, is hope.
DGR and Movember and their supporters really allow us to do this work that changes lives. You know, in less than 2 years, we've trained 2,000 community members in suicide prevention.
And so there is an awareness that is blooming. Thanks to organizations such as Movember and the distinguished gentlemen riders, we're going to make it happen.
RGH can be a barn, RGH can be a field, RGH can be an office space. And one of the things that our RGH members tell us is it's like coming home.
I know at any time I can call Justine for help. She's going to become embedded in the motorcycle world, and having the RGH right here, which this is a high route for motorcycle rides, it's a win-win, you know, for everybody.
Touch on now that they've seen it, or you want to just?
I think probably the one statement I'd like to make is one of the reasons we work with existing veteran organisations is they have the unique opportunity to reach very distinct groups of veterans that live and work within our communities. No organisation can be everything to everybody, and we have to be smart enough to be able to shapeshift, to be able to work with and use established organisations to be able to reach their particular following. And the Valhalla Motorcycle Group is an incredibly wonderful example of just how successful these sorts of trainings, both the peer mentor training and the suicide prevention training, can be. To date, we've trained now nearly 3,500 people in suicide prevention, and as of last week, we have saved 46 lives that we know about.
We've been through it.
Yes, yep. That's amazing.
You know, we were talking about the peer mentoring. In the movie, one of the things that stuck with me is there's a part, as you saw, of a gentleman saying that when someone came to him, he doesn't ask them, you know, what's the matter? Or he said, I know what's the matter. I already know what's the matter. And it's like, I guess, erasing a lot of the sort of BS that has to go on, or that a lot of veterans go through. And sadly, during that BS process, quite often, many veterans will give up. They won't continue the process. And when a veteran can come in and talk to a veteran who's been there, who knows what it's about, you get past that and you get right into the work. And the film does a good job in showing how that works. And their faith and trust in RGH is great because RGH is close by. It's a phone call away, and it's not like something they have to go reach across the country for to get assistance when they need it. They know we're right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions we were going to ask next was, peer training and why. I think we've covered that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, with the 11-minute video, you know, we've only got a couple minutes actually to cover an awful lot.
Right.
So we're going to scratch that off. Number 5.
Okay, so suicide is a key theme in this video, and I was honored to be there that day. My husband was there as well as part of Valhalla. So how important is it in the work that you do to have that, to talk about that, and has it as the key theme in that video in particular?
Look, I think both Bob and I extensively do a lot of work in suicide prevention and suicide prevention training, and I think I speak for both of us when I say stigma is the greatest challenge we face. And suicide has such an unbelievable stigma attached to it. People are so frightened to speak about it. People are frightened to admit that they're not coping. People are frightened to admit that it's touched their family or that it's something that is an ideation that may come and go in their lives. And because of that, they don't ask for help. We lose over 22 veterans a day because of the stigma. So we have a role to play, and that's why the suicide prevention training is so vitally important in our communities.
You know, we've actually only got like 2.5 minutes left, believe it or not. Now, just to touch, and we've talked about this before, that number, just let the viewers know that haven't heard this, that 22 a day is not even close to being accurate.
Doesn't include Texas or the National Guard.
Nor does it include active duty military.
Yeah.
Wow, it doesn't?
No.
And it's only, those figures are only released every quarter by the Department of Defense. So they don't give you a yearly statistic. It just
That
comes out
number
quarterly.
22 has been there for years. It hasn't
Exactly.
changed.
Correct.
And with that being said, it's not even accurate.
Right.
We all look at it as 22 a day. I mean, that's absurd. But the numbers are much higher.
Yes.
And most of the ones, servicemen and women are deployed now, excuse me, are National Guard.
And you know,
Reservists.
one is unacceptable. Over 22 is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And as a country, we have to do something to change this.
Yeah. You know, we've only got about a minute left or so. You know, this rotation right here, the winter rotation, we're really going to be hammering the topics of PTSD and suicide, because it's a
Suicide
very
prevention,
important.
yeah.
We haven't touched on it in a while on this show, and it's time for us to come back to it.
That was my request.
Yes, it was. It was.
It's important.
And you know, and it was a great request. I mean, sometimes, you know, when you're looking for guests, you don't always see, you know, where you should be going. And I'm glad my eyes were opened up. And thank you, partner.
Welcome.
You know, it's here we go. We got a minute left. So, anything you want to close out by saying?
I'd like to close out with there's a lot of help available.
Yeah.
And with a group like Resilience Grows Here, thank the Lord, we're now a 501c3, so we can go statewide. We're reaching out as best we can. Folks like you are going to help us do that.
Absolutely.
Which is terrific, because we need that help. We're ready, willing, and able to go and do it. You know, we've got the people, we've got the skills that are necessary to get the word out. And I'll just speak for QPR really quickly.
Well, we've only got about 20 seconds left.
Okay,
so.
let's get a lot of people out there learning QPR. It'll save a lot of lives.
How do folks contact you?
They can contact us via our website, www.resiliencegroveshere.org, or via our Facebook site.
Okay, hate to rush. We're definitely going to have you back again. That's all the time we have. Once again, we want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the viewers for joining us again. I'm Chuck Wooden.
I'm Monique Melanson Hunter.
Good night, and we'll see you next time on the Veterans Corner.